Hey y'all. As you may know, last month my father died and I'm ready to talk about it. Now, I am definitely a daddy's girl and my father was like one of my favorite people in the world, and we talked often and we talked for extended periods of time when we did talk about so many things spiritual, and just a lot of different things, but mainly a lot of it was spiritual conversations. He was an ordained minister, definitely a man of God, and I watched him transform from my teenage years to my adulthood, where he really started to dig into his belief in God and spirituality, and it just seeing him go from who he was to who he ended as was an amazing sight. So let me back up. January 8th, get the call that he had a stroke or heart attack. We didn't really know at the time. My parents live about 4 hours away, near St. Louis, but in Illinois. So for myself, that was quite the drive. My sister as well. Just about the same amount of time for her, and my brother, who lives in a whole nother state, it was like 7 hour drive for him. So that drive in itself was agonizing, but we made it there. And by the time we got there, just getting the updates along the way that he was declining, and by the time we got there, he was already on a ventilator and in a coma. So it was an experience for sure, walking in and seeing him in that state. If you know my father is a very strong dude, and he, first of all, he always told us, don't let me sit on no ventilator. That's number one. He always said he never wanted that. And even before they put him on it, my mom even said that he fought them. He did not want to go on that ventilator, but their job is to save him, and that is one of the tools that they needed to use in order to save him. By the time we get there, he was on the ventilator, and we just immediately went into prayer mode, which is what we all know because that's what he and my mom taught us. We went into prayer mode. We all were there, us, all of our kids, like the entire family was there rallying around my dad. I mean, it really was beautiful to see how we were in shifts going, 3, 4 at a time, going to the hospital and just rotating in and out that room every 4 hours, between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., like every day. And he was on the ventilator for about was he on there for 5 days? Yeah, for 5 days. From the 8th to the day we took him off, which was the 14th. And yeah, we had to make the difficult decision of taking him off of life support, essentially, because it was not helping. It was doing exactly what it was he didn't want to do, and that was basically being kept alive, but without actually being able to have a good quality of life. And at that point, he was declining even more. So the decision to control how he went had to be made by myself and my siblings and my mom and our mom. We always say my dad, my mom. That's just how we talk to each other, but we all know that's our mom, our dad. So yeah, we had to make that tough decision. We had to wait for my nephew, who was also raised by my parents, to come in. He was in the Air Force, so he had to come all the way from Italy, and his flight was getting delayed, and we're like talking to my dad like, hold on, he's coming. And he got there the day before we had to make the decision, which was just amazing because he got to see him, hold his hand, and my dad was like showing us signs of life. Like, he was squeezing hands, he was kicking his leg, and by the last couple days, he was pulling his leg all the way up. Like, it was not just reflexes, as the doctors was trying to tell us. a lot of that was in response to things that we said to him. So we knew he was there. He did visit people in dreams during that time frame. Over the course of, in total, it was 11 days. And it went really quickly, which is another reason why I was obviously in a state of mental disarray for like the past month, because it just happened so fast, and it was not something that you can prepare for when that person hasn't been displaying any signs of sickness or illness. Strokes are very fast, and sometimes you recover, sometimes you don't, and this was just one of those times where he did not recover. But I will say this: in the time, that 11 days that it took, him spending 5 on the ventilator with us then removing him from it, the 15 minutes it took for him to take his final breath, that was in itself a tough thing to endure and witness, but we got through it. And I can't honestly say that God did give me the peace that surpasses all understanding, because I don't even know how I was functioning through all of that when everybody around me was falling apart and it was just so much chaos going on. And I didn't really cry until maybe that night before we were going to take him off, and maybe here and there I would like be off to myself and I might drop a tear or two, but then suck it right back up because things needed to get done. And me and my youngest son and my mom literally planned the funeral in 24 hours. And it was a lot, but I went into get it done mode because I am my father's daughter, and that's what he would have done. Get it done, get it done. And honestly, I felt like he was guiding us the entire way, from the casket, picking out the casket, to the suit he was gonna wear, to what we were even gonna wear, to the song that was gonna be sang, the song that was gonna be played. Just everything just ran smoothly. The flowers, the bouquet, like all of that stuff it was just like boom, boom, boom. Everything was in order. Like it just, as soon as I walked into the flower shop, bam, there was the bouquet already being created. And I was like, that's the exact one that I need. Like it just, everything's like God and Holy Spirit was just guiding and directing every move. And that's how it was able to just flow so smoothly, picking out even the funeral home, because him being down there, they didn't have a home church there. My mom didn't want to ship him here and then take the trip up here to do a memorial service here or anything like that. She wanted to get him in the ground as quickly as possible and get through this process. They had just celebrated their 50-year wedding anniversary on January 5th. So for her, it was a whole lot deeper for her than for me and even my siblings, because she had him, longer than we did. And you talk about somebody's life mate. And as a married person, when I look at that picture back there and I see that guy right there, 50 years, like I couldn't imagine life without him after 50 years. I can't imagine it now. We 15 years in. So, so yeah, just, showing that empathy towards my mom, and just whatever it is she wanted done, making sure that we got it done. So it was quite the experience. And I will say this: I have done a lot of different things in my life in terms of hustles, side hustles, work, career path, and things like that. And I became a licensed life insurance agent in 2000, and I want to say 2016. That's when it was. Yeah, 2016, for the first time. And I did very well at it for a while, and then I took a break from it, and now I just renewed my license, got back in it last May. And we discussed life insurance. But at that point, my dad felt it was gonna cost more to get life insurance at this state, at that age, than it would had he got it, back then, than it would. And plus he had the money to bury himself. He said he had enough for the both of them, him and my mom. So we were like, okay, cool. We, at that point, I'm like, fine, I'll take your word for it. But I really kept trying to stress, like, your niece needs to have like 10,000 or something. But he decided against it, and that in itself leads me to the part where we had to come out of pocket to pay for his funeral. And my dad, being the type of person that has it all together at all times, knowing that he didn't really have it all together, which, don't get me wrong, he did leave something, but it's best that we went on ahead and did that, because the needs of my mom now going forward is definitely going to cut into what he had saved. So I say all that to say this: get life insurance, for real, because had he had that in place, we wouldn't have had to come out of pocket. We wouldn't have to, and I know you're supposed to lean on family and people like, and friends and stuff like that in those times, and they offer to help in certain ways and things like that. But we went on ahead and just paid everything out of pocket, and I don't think that people need to deal with that while they're planning the funeral, dealing with the grief of it, and especially when something happens really quickly. So I say that to say, if you don't have life insurance, I implore you, hit me up, send me a text, send me an email, give me a call, send me a message through Messenger, DM, whatever it is, so that I can make sure that your family is covered and that your family doesn't have to go through coming up with the funds or paying out of pocket for your final resting arrangements, So hit me up at getcoveredwithcachet@gmail.com. That's getcoveredwithcachet@gmail.com. Or just hit me up, like I said, through my phone if you got my information, you got my number and stuff like that. Even if you got a policy and you just want somebody that's going to honestly go over your policy and tell you exactly what you have and be able to guide you in that field, give me a call. My job isn't just to sell you on anything, it's to educate and inform, because that's the last thing you want to deal with while you're planning your loved one's funeral is, where is money gonna come from? How am I gonna get it? Well, they said they had, and then you find out they didn't, and now you got to scramble and figure it out. Thankfully, we were blessed and fortunate enough to get that money and have that money already ready to go for something, in case of an emergency. So I still firmly believe that having life insurance is a necessity. It really is. Just like you pay for your cell phone bill, you need to pay for your life insurance bill. Just like you pay for car insurance, you need to pay for life insurance. You need to include that in your list of necessities that you have to pay for every month, or pay quarterly or pay annually, however you want to do it. But get covered, for real. Everybody should have some form of life insurance, and especially now at this big age that we're at. And I mean, my Gen X's and my millennials, if you don't have life insurance now, what you waiting on? What you waiting for? Because I would never want my family to be in a position where they would have to figure out how they're going to lay me to rest. And then when you have a person whose personality was so big, and they deserve the grandest, biggest send-off you can think of, you got to pay for that. You got to have money for that. So get covered with cachet@gmail.com. Hit me up. If you want me to just give you a consultation, you want me to give you a quote, you want me to go over what you already have, I got you, because it's different for me now. It's personal. It's extremely personal. And I want everybody that I know, care about, and love to get covered, y'all. Get covered. So, with that being said, I thank God for giving me that peace, for covering me and my family throughout that time, and for continuing to be a comfort and a strength towards us. And thank you to everybody that left kind words, that sent messages. Thank you to all of you. I appreciate it. And now it's time to continue on and do exactly what I'm supposed to do in spreading nothing but love and God's joy and peace and understanding to everybody that I come across. So, I love you guys, and I'll see y'all on my next video, because please believe God has been downloading your girl. I got so many things coming in the spirit, and I'm keeping it in step with the Holy Spirit, and I'm walking with God right now, and life is amazing. My father left quite the spiritual inheritance, and this is the season where we can walk into whatever it is we want. So I'll see you guys soon. Remember, get covered with cachet at gmail.com. Hit me up. Bye.